Now, for more on this, we are joined by Indiana Congressman Marlin Stutzman. Sir, good morning. Thank you for coming on. Your thoughts on what we just heard from Wes Moore there?
Good morning, Alex. Great to be with you again. Yeah, you know what? I think this is Democrats again, trying to really bring the American people, to a point where they're going to shut the government down over our government, our federal agents doing their job, whether it's on the border or whether it's in Minnesota, where they're, doing what we've asked them to do to keep America safe. And I just believe that Democrats, again, are going to try to use the situation to, politicize the circumstances. And nobody wants to see, an individual shot on the streets in Minneapolis or, anywhere for that matter. But the fact is, our federal agents are doing their job of going after the bad guys that came into the country, whether it was over the past 5 years under President Biden or whether they've been hiding out for the last 10 years for that matter. So I just think that the Democrats are making a very poor decision. If they're going to shut the government down over this, let's work together. What President Trump did by calling the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota and finding a way to work together to make sure that American people are safe is the better solution than shutting the government down.
Yeah, so I was seeing reports that ICE is technically funded through 2029 through Trump's big, beautiful bill, and that it would really, if the government shuts down over this funding, really who would be hurt technically would be FEMA as well as TSA. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Democrats want to just take DHS as far as Homeland Security because they believe that's their political target. But President Trump is going to do whatever it takes to keep Americans safe. And that's what he promised in his campaign. That's what Republicans are standing for. And I'll tell you what, if the Senate Republicans, we have a majority of 53 in the Senate, have to, eliminate the filibuster rule on this particular vote, I think they should do it. Even Senator Fetterman is standing with Republicans on this.
Yeah.
But the fact, the point is, Alex, that in this bill is actually giving DHS more funding for body cameras, for training, to be sure that they do their job even better than they already are. This is a large, department that has a lot of agents, and they do a lot of training. They're not just sending, the guys that they signed up last week up to Minnesota to handle this problem. They're sending up their professionals. But at the same time, when somebody walks into a situation trying to agitate and keep them from doing their job, they're going to be on guard. And so, the best thing that Americans can do is let them do their job, go after those who are bad. And you know what? We'll deal with anybody in the court system that deserves not to be deported, or let the courts handle the circumstances rather than trying to deal with it out on the streets. It feels a little bit like Minnesota is the wild, wild west, and they're just continuing to obstruct the federal government from doing their job rather than working together. And then we can sort out who should be staying and who needs to be deported.
Yeah, and when you talk about them doing their job, and these are professionals, the highest ICE arrests are actually coming from Texas, Florida, California, Georgia, Virginia, and we're not even hearing about those states. We're not even talking about the states because the state is working hand in hand with the federal government. They're getting it done. They're getting it done quietly. We're not hearing about it. Congressman Marlin Stutzman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate your time, sir.